In this video, I'll go over how to physically invert a joystick axis on your DualSense controller as a permanent solution. The concept will also work on an Xbox controller. In this case, I'll be doing it on a right joystick's X-axis, but you could also do this on both axes of both joysticks if you really wanted to. And if you're one of those that stumbled upon this video and wondering why anyone would want to invert the X-axis or Y-axis, well, so was I. And according to my extensive research, searching Reddit and asking this customer, some users got used to playing flight simulators, or back in the old days, a lot of games already came with one or both of the axes inverted, like GoldenEye 007, Super Mario 64, and The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. Supposedly, once the muscle memory is built this way, it's quite difficult to unlearn. To others, they say it just feels natural to them. I think this user here put it quite nicely, that if you imagine having a camera on your shoulder, you turn left at the waist to turn left, and right to turn right. But pull your shoulders back to look up, and push them forward to look down. And one of the last reasons, which is also mentioned by them, is that of someone who operates a camera as if on a tripod. The customer let me know they are in fact a camera operator and a TV production teacher, and explained it pretty well, that when you move the paddle to the right, the camera pans to the left, move the paddle to the left, the camera pans to the right, and just like with the video camera on the shoulder example, when you move the paddle up, the camera pans down, and when you move the paddle down, the camera pans up. So, in this particular case, the customer just wanted the right joystick's X-axis inverted, as most games already have the option to invert the Y-axis. However, I did learn while going down this rabbit hole that even to this day, games are being released without this option, even though they do add it months later, which just boggles my mind. It's just rather unfortunate not all games support inverting the X-axis, or sometimes even the Y-axis. But here we are, needing to do this kind of mod. Anyway, tools you'll need for the job are a soldering iron, helping hands, prying tool, tweezers or pliers, some jump wire, which could even be some strands of old speaker wire or Ethernet cable wire, for example, a PH00 screwdriver, solder, something to remove the solder like wick or solder pump, and electrical tape. You'll of course need to disassemble the controller. To do that, on the DualSense controller, there are 4 screws in total to remove the faceplate, 2 under the back faceplate trim, and 2 under the L1 and R1 buttons. The black faceplate trim can be removed by lifting up each of the bottom ends, then lifting up and out. The L1 and R1 buttons can be removed by inserting the prying tool under the front or back, then prying upwards. Then use the Phillips 00 screwdriver to remove all the screws. There are then 2 tabs holding the front and back plate together. Then lightly pry each of the tabs. Then separate the front and back plate. On the back side, you'll see the battery. After removing that from its connector, the last screw that is holding the battery case can be removed. There are 5 flex cables to remove now. It's important to remove and reinstall them by the reinforcement tabs on the ends of them, and not by the cable body itself, as those can damage fairly easily. The bottom ones I like to remove from side to side. and the other ones can be removed with your fingers or flat-nose pliers. I don't recommend tweezers because they don't grip very well and they could damage them. To remove the motherboard, you'll need to desolder the red and black rumble wires and green and yellow adaptive trigger wires if you're doing this mod on a Generation 3, 4, or 5 controller. There are 2 tabs left that are holding the board in place. Pushing on the tabs while lifting the board a little bit should set the board free. And you may need to wiggle the board a little bit to get it out because sometimes the thumbsticks will catch onto the frame. Once the board is free, we can then remove the thumbsticks. For this mod, all you need to do is remove the potentiometer, or potentiometers if you plan on doing more than one. To do that, you can attempt to remove the solder from each pin, or what I like to do is remove the potentiometer in one go, then remove the solder from each pin. To do that, I'll open the potentiometer up and remove the wiper, which just makes it a little easier to remove. Then add some of my own leaded solder to the unleaded solder to increase the heat transfer, and as it mixes, it can also lower the melting point. Melt all 3 pins at once while gently applying a little downward pressure on the potentiometer until it releases. Remove the remaining solder with solder wick or a desoldering pump. A trick I like to do with the desoldering pump is to heat up the same side with the soldering iron, then use the pump to suck out the solder from the other side. It seems to work a lot better than just trying on one side. The only caveat is that it leaves some stray solder and flux residue on the other side as well. So I just like to clean that up with a plastic prying tool, being mindful of any little parts on the board. For this customer, I had also planned on replacing both joysticks with some new Hall effect joysticks. I wasn't 100% sure if they'd work at the time, but I was feeling pretty optimistic. Spoiler, they don't, but I eventually found a workaround. If you are also planning on replacing the whole joystick, I have a complete guide on how to do that, which I will link in the description. Now we finally get to the fun part, where we get to modify. First, shout out to the Redditor JC Ghosts for figuring this out, and the customer Andrew aka Scrasm on PSN for tracking it down and showing it to me. The concept is quite simple really. You just need to swap the wiring between the positive voltage pin and the ground pin. By adding some electrical tape over the 2 side through-hole pads, you can ensure there's no contact between the pad and the pins. I decided to be a little fancy in my first go and apply some solder mask instead, because I was feeling so confident. On the other side, you will want to add some solder to those pads, as we will join the jumper wire to them a little later. With the potentiometer, lift the 2 side pins outwards 90 degrees before inserting it. For the jump wire, I do opt for some speaker wire strands, just show that it can be done. You might be able to get away with 1 strand, but I decided to twist 3 together and tin it. It does help to tin the pins of the joystick as well. Then apply the jumper wire to the pins that were pre-soldered and cross them. Because the jump wire I'm using isn't coated with anything, I went ahead and applied some solder mask to them. You could also use some more electrical tape, Kapton tape, or maybe even some hot glue to protect it from the other jump wire. Once everything is soldered up, you can now test it. First, plug in the battery, then the USB-C cable to the controller, and go to hardwaretester.com/gamepad. Hopefully, your results are a little better than mine. It's rather unfortunate this mod doesn't work on the Hall effect sticks, but I did experiment with putting some regular potentiometers on the Hall effect sticks with some success. To get it to fit on, I had to remove the 3 corner nubs, and I was happy to find out that it worked really well. One caveat is that they don't fit on perfectly, so I decided to add some UV resin on top to reinforce it. Once verified everything is working, it's time to put the controller back together and calibrate. To put it back together, first place the thumbsticks onto the joysticks. Once the joysticks are on, we can put the board back in. It's a little tricky with all the cables in the way, so you'll likely need to move a few of them out of the way as you're putting it in. Once in, the cables can then be reconnected. Putting them back in using the hard plastic part and not the cable itself will help avoid damaging the cables. When all the ribbon cables are back in, we can now solder in the wires. The red wires go on the bottom and the black wires directly above the red wires. With the 3rd, 4th, and 5th generation controllers, you'll also have the green wire and the yellow wire on top. When putting the battery case back in, make sure the wires are placed in a way that they'll be tucked under the battery cover. Otherwise, the controller won't fit back together correctly if the wires are in the way. Then we got the battery cover screw and the last ribbon cable. Connect the battery. When placing the backplate, it's easiest to do while having the controller face down so that the battery stays in place. Next are the 4 screws. The L1 and R1 plastic pieces. And finally, the front cover plastic piece. Now on to the calibration. First, open either Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge, as those are the only supported browsers at this time. Also close Steam if you have that open. Then go to DualShock-tools.github.io. There will be a pop-up explaining some of the disclaimers and risks associated with using it. Click Understood. Then click Connect. Then click DualSense Wireless Controller. If you see it says just Wireless Controller, you will need to update the controller so that the calibration tool can recognize it as a DualSense controller, and you can do that on the PlayStation or even on the computer. To calibrate the joystick to the center, we can click on the Calibrate Stick Center, and it'll tell you to keep the controller connected and to not close the page as you're doing it. Click Start. In step 1, we'll move the joystick to the top left corner and release. Click Continue. Step 2, to the top right corner and release. Continue. Step 3, to the bottom left corner and release. And finally, step 4, to the bottom right corner and release. Click Continue. The joysticks should now be centered. Alternatively, you could click on the Fast Calibrate Stick Center Old button, and it will quickly center the joystick. Next, we'll want to calibrate the range. To do so, click on Calibrate Stick Range. Once opened, I recommend lightly rotating the joystick around once or twice. If done more times or done vigorously, it may get too much input and you may not get the full range you want in all directions. Once done, we can check the circularity, and it will give you an error percentage. I really don't like the word error because it's really only an error if you don't reach full range in a given direction. We actually want the error that goes over the 100% limit because that ensures we get the full range that we need as we move our joysticks. That can be the difference between running and jogging in an RPG game. So as long as you're getting full range in every direction, it's a successful calibration. If you don't, just retry the range calibration procedure until you do. Once everything looks good, then click on the Save Changes Permanently button. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. If you found this video helpful, feel free to like and subscribe, and have a great rest of your day.